Hello and welcome to Quasi Minions of the Zoo, episode 1516. I'm your host, Johnny Hellcat, and with me today are minions Sanguine.
Good evening, all.
And sliding in under the closing door, Terry Diamantis.
Hey everyone.
So how are things going?
Go fairly well for me, just doing some work to make my dinner for the night, because I didn't go shopping today, and I realized, oh yeah, the backup meat that I was planning on making today, I just made a really large meal yesterday, and had a fantastic meal of achaske and chicken karaage, so I was going, I could have the chicken if I don't go grocery shopping, or I could have the salmon. And I'll just have to decide the night before. And then I woke up and realized, oh, I ate both of them. Fuck.
All right. Mr. Yes, this is Minions of the Zoo.
I mean, check the title, check what channel it's on. There are hints.
Well, actually, Terry.
Checking the channel would be a bit of a red herring.
Yes, because this is my channel. The stream from last night got a content strike. So, Minions is down for the week.
Wait, what happened?
Your guys' stream from last night got struck.
For what?
Medical misinformation.
Oh, nice.
So,
Did you say something shameful like men have penises and women have vaginas?
I honestly don't know what the medical misinformation would have been.
yeah, and that's what, Jen and Hammer were trying to discuss is, like, what exactly were we talking about that would have been, particularly misinformative.
Yeah, the closest that they could figure is you guys were talking about how the mask mandates in different areas keep on changing. So potentially talking about what it was versus what it currently is was enough to get you bopped, because it's always been the same, no matter how many times it gets changed, right?
Of
Well,
course.
Jen is saying it might have been the masks as well, so I guess that must have been it.
Yep, must have been God Emperor Fauci.
Yep. Reaching out his hand, deigning to recognize us lowly creatures, right?
Alright. Well, if we're not on the minions, that means I can say nigger.
Missing no chance.
Well, this is getting put back on the Minions, so...
Oh. Well, then I didn't just say it.
Well, maybe Hammer can edit that out with a beep.
No. I mean, people have said it on Minions before. It's just...
Probably my
seems like a
favorite.
funny thing to do.
Just
My
casually
favorite
just throw
time.
that out there.
Yeah, my favorite time that it was said on the Minions is still the educational use of the N-word situation. I'm not sure if Johnny knows about that. I think, Terry, you were on stream when that happened.
I think I was watching.
So,
Right.
Prospero was talking about how a bunch of books were getting banned from various schools, including Huck Finn and To Kill a Mockingbird, for their use of the N-word.
Yeah.
And she coined the phrase, the educational use of the N-word. And I immediately chime in, what the fuck does that mean? Is there a professor somewhere calling someone in and going, okay, so listen here. And then pointing out, you see where you just did this in this sentence? That's clearly a comma splice, nigga. What the fuck you doing?
Actually, I did get in a sort of debate with a friend of mine from high school. He's a debate coach.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to be a debate coach. He's retired from one. I don't know if he's still doing it, or if it's just something that he's no longer doing, or he was between jobs, or something was going on. Mm-hmm. And so, I told him, depending on the context, there's no reason to ban the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Oh no, absolutely, no one can say it." Blah 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 blah. I go, "Okay, so then you will ban all of all the rap songs that contain the word."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Well, no, that's empowering towards others."
Mm-hmm.
I go, "So okay, so a word that empowers something coming from, so I could take a word, something that I was called as a kid, and I could use that saying, I'm taking it back because it hurt me once, and now I'm using it to empower." And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Okay, well, I'm a prairie nigger then."
Yep.
And he's like, "Well, you can't say that." And I go, "What? But you just said."
Yeah.
It was something that I was called as a kid that was racial disparaging.
No, but see, to me, if it's as they say, it's empowering to black people, then I'm empowering black people every time I call them one.
See, the thing that I have a problem with is we have a map based on history of how this shit works. If you really want a word to lose all meaning, to lose all of the bite behind it, what you do is you start using it for fucking everything. A good example of that is
racism, sexism.
Unfortunately, those are currently being used in that manner, but a good example of that sort of mentality was, look at the usage of the word nerd or hell. I said fucking a moment ago, how many people listening along were just absolutely gobsmacked that I could dare say the word fuck in such a casual manner? Probably none of you. Because
that's actually why I make a point of not spelling nigger with an A, because that's not the word. It's like, no, if you're going to use the word, just use it, and the more people use it, the less impactful it'll be, and then we can all just get over this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And use it for goddamn everything.
Yeah.
So don't just have it, oh no, this specifically means black people. You want to say that it's some horrendously offensive thing? Okay. Start having people use it against white people, against Hispanic people, against goddamn everyone. And now it loses that racial tone. And it becomes just like, it means that you're a dickhead.
Yeah, it's like gay. Like, once upon a time, gay pretty much only meant homosexual, and then now people are like, that's fucking gay, and like it just means it's shit. Like it's not a specific reference to homosexuality as much as the left tries to desperately cling to it as offensive when you use it that way, but it's just a slang term.
And what is I think it's a Louis C.K. joke. It might be Bill Burr, but it's one of those two. Talking about how there's a difference between being a faggot and being gay.
That's Louis C.K.
Louis C.K.? Okay, I thought so.
That's from Shameless.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And he's talking about how...
It's from Chewed Up. That's from Chewed Up.
Yeah.
My bad.
You can be gay and not be a faggot. You can be a faggot and not being gay. Being a faggot has nothing to do with being gay. So, yeah, you might have some fags that are gay, but not all fags are gay. Some of them are just fags.
If I walk into a back alley and I see another guy blowing another guy, I don't know why I'd be watching, but it's like if I saw that, I'm like, all right, back to as you were. But if he pulls it out of his mouth, he goes, "People from Phoenix are Phoenicians." He's like, "Shut up, faggot! Stop being a faggot and suck that dick."
But Dave Chappelle made a similar point because, like, when he was recording his Netflix special, they said, "Oh, you can't say the word faggot." And he's like, "Why not?" And he's like, "Well, you're not gay." But I say nigger, and I'm not a nigger. And it's like making the same point. It's like there's a difference between being black and being a nigger, the same way there's a difference between being gay and being a faggot.
Mm-hmm.
And what's his face? Scott Thompson, Kids in the Hall, had a song called "Running Faggot."
Mm-hmm.
Which is a catchy song.
I think wasn't there a Kids in the Hall sketch also where he was talking about being effeminate with his S's? He's like,
probably.
It doesn't mean I'm gay.
I haven't seen Kids in the Hall in a long enough time. I don't remember that sketch. So
I saw it. I think it was so long ago. I vaguely remember. I could probably tell you who it was and who said it, but how long ago it was, I couldn't tell you.
No, I mean, I did like the Kids in the Hall. It's just I haven't watched the show in like over a decade, so I only remember the sketches that like really, really stood out to me. Like the one where Dave Foley is like ruining all of the vaudeville sketches. He's like explaining the who's on first scenario to remove the ambiguity, and he's like, "Oh no, that's Jonathan Who. That's the guy on first base. You got confused because his surname sounds like a word. No.
Mm-hmm.
No,
It just completely destroys the entire routine."
It was Scott Thompson also.
Oh, okay.
And it's like the cartoon series, Boondocks. Like 90% of the Boondocks was explaining the difference between black people and niggas. Because they're different things.
Yeah.
And it had the nigga moment episode, which is a fucking classic, and it is golden. If you have not seen that episode, you need to look up that episode of the Boondocks. Because it just goes in on the difference. And then there's the MLK episode, Martin Luther King Jr.
That
didn't actually die in the episode. Okay.
I absolutely like that's the one. Like when I first saw the show, I was like, okay, whatever. You know, this it's just another show that I saw. It's not really all that funny. Nothing's catching me. I saw that one. I died.
Yeah. That is easily one of their best episodes. The Martin Luther King episode.
I've only seen one episode, and basically all I remember from it is that Samuel L. Jackson was doing a voice, and they completely reenacted a scene from Pulp Fiction. Nice. I think it was the "Say What Again" thing.
Yep.
One of the scenes from Pulp Fiction.
But yeah, the Martin Luther King episode is amazing. And again, it's one of those episodes that if you haven't seen it, after the stream, go look up the Martin Luther King episode of the Boondocks and watch it and enjoy. Because it is all about what would be the case if Martin Luther King hadn't died when he was assassinated. If he had instead been put into a coma. And then he wakes up in the 2000s. And he sees what society's like. And there's certain things that he is all for and is finding fascinating, like the tech advancements. He's going like, how? What? No. You're saying it's a phone. I know what a phone is. This isn't what? and is absolutely amazed by them. Some of them are just amusing. Like, he finds out about the McDonald's rib sandwich and is just blown away by the McRib and is talking about how this is fucking amazing, effectively. As well as him reacting to the rest of culture and reacting to how things were being stoked. Because this happened when there was that kind of build up right around the Michael Brown Ferguson incidents.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. It came out right before that, so you're already starting to get more of that racial tension coming from goddamn nowhere. And he was reacting to the fact that that was happening, and he was going, "You guys are fucking it up. What are you doing? Stop! I had a dream that we would one day not care about this, and now the only thing that you care about is, what are you doing?" And it culminates with his speech at the end of the episode, which they decide that they're going to have a new black political party. And when they are setting up for this, there's all this advertisement from black radio stations. There's a bunch of musical numbers that sign on because, hell yeah, this sounds like it's going to be an amazing thing. And he's just watching the musical numbers in abject horror as effectively the Boondocks equivalent of WAP and Nicki Minaj songs are being performed in front of him, followed by gangster rap, and he's just going, "No, this... What are you doing? What have you done as a people? What are you doing? Stop!" And then he gets up and gives his speech, and his entire speech is just ripping into everything that he's seen. It is amazing, and like I said, if you have not seen the MLK episode for Boondocks, go look up that episode. If you have not seen the Nigga Moment episode of the Boondocks, go look it up. You will not be sorry.
There is one that we did on a stream with Pat, and that was the one Camel told us about, the white guy calling the kid a nigga. He's like, I heard his friends calling him that, and I didn't think there was any kind of problem with it. And turns out it was like word for word based on something that actually happened.
Yep.
Yeah, we played that on the stream, and I actually got a content strike for it.
Oh, wow.
Like, I couldn't monetize my channel. I'll shame.
Is it?
Yeah, and that show was fantastic. And there was something that I heard someone say a while ago, where it's the difference between Spike Lee as a person and a character in a Spike Lee movie. Because Spike Lee as a person doesn't really seem to go as much into the what the fuck, this is all racism, but all his characters will immediately launch to, this is racist. And that show was just perfect because it had both examples of that. It had the one kid who, Riley, everything was racist according to Riley. And then it had the other kid, and some things were racist, some things weren't. And he was equally disgusted by the racists in white people and the racists in black people, because he was just going, no, this is bullshit. And he had some extreme ideas, he had some moderate ideas, and throughout the series, different ideas would rise up, and he would kind of examine them. It was a fantastic show. I miss that show. Especially now. Now would be amazing.
Yeah. I remember I was watching the Comedy Channel and I just happened to catch that one episode and then I just never saw it again. I just never happened to come across it again. So, yeah, if I can find episodes on YouTube or something, I'll definitely check them out because it sounds like a pretty funny show from what you're describing.
Yeah, it was the entire premise of the show. It was fairly just self-contained episodes, but every now and then they would have kind of an arching arc over a series of them. But the general premise was two young black boys getting raised by their grandfather because their mother and father died.
No.
And one of them is the stereotypical, I'm going to be tough. No one's going to fuck with me type kid. And the other one's more thoughtful. And it's them interacting with this world around them. And their father, or their grandfather rather, looks after them. It's clear that he cares about them, but he will beat their asses if they misbehave.
Was it actually written by black people? Because that's going to be important when the left watches it.
Yes, it was. It was written by a black guy.
Because they'll need to know these things before they can determine how accurate the episodes are. If you're black, will be like, oh, okay. If it's a white guy, oh no, white explaining.
Yeah. It was a fantastic show. Like I said, it's something that I highly recommend to anyone to go back and watch it. Whether you've watched it before, go back and watch it. The last time I did so, it still held up. And if you've never seen it before, give it a go, see what it's like. Because, yeah, Uncle Ruckus was hilarious and ridiculous. So, in the show, Terry, there's a character, Uncle Ruckus, who is the most racist black man, but he is racist against black people.
Okay.
And he's straight up calling them, ghetto monkeys and shit like that.
Like every slang you could possibly imagine that you could come up with, this guy said.
Every real slur, imagined slur, utterance that could be considered offensive, this man will spew at everyone. And there's one episode where he gets attacked by police because he did something, and he's just like, oh yes, officer, yes, I deserve this, oh yes, okay. You're right to do this, officer. Just beat the black out of me. You're just going, what the fuck, Rocket? What the fuck?
Adam is mentioning that the zoo got a strike. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Which is why we're over here for the night. It sounds like some work is being done behind the scenes, and we might have a backup channel in just a little bit. Effectively, we already have one, just we haven't done anything on it. But sounds like we might have a backup channel in the works.
All right.
Is it called Medical Misinformation of the Zoo?
Oh, that would be hilarious.
Looking up synonyms for zoo, it brought up a lot of slang terms, and I'm like, no, that's kind of what you want to you don't want the slang part for just like chaos and stuff like that, but.
You want the actual word, or you want the actual place where animals are kept. Maybe we'll be the minions of the menagerie.
There you
Sounds proper fancy, doesn't it?
It's a bit of a mouthful. It's,
Sounds like we would be a bit more hotty-toddy over there, right?
it's
Pish posh.
a Negro instead.
Yeah.
Oh man.
If we didn't want to go for minions still, then we could be the miscreants of the menagerie.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or if we want to go proper posh sounding, then clearly we would become the Hellions of the menagerie.
Mhm.
Well, then we'd have to bring the kids in,
True.
because that's what I call my kids. So
Nice.
They can be honorary minions then for the new channel.
minlets.
Mhm.
Oh God, wasn't that in? Was it? Oh shit! Leprechaun in the Hood. Like, you little nigglets.
Niglets.
I don't know where that came from.
That's a
but-
black baby pig. That's what that is.
There's all kinds of just absolute ridiculousness when it comes to certain things, and it is glorious.
Yeah, absurdist comedy either has to go all out, or it can't. It's got to be like in like
I
just
think
not
it needs,
constantly throughout the show.
I think it needs to be tangentially connected to reality. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Like there has to be some grounding in reality for the absurdism to actually stand out. Like to have that contrast. Otherwise, it just gets nonsensical and it's not as interesting.
It needs to follow the old school spoof movie formulas.
Yeah,
I keep on referencing the same movie because it is absolutely amazing. And again, it's one of those things that if you have not seen it, rectify that moral failing within yourself. The movie Top Secret.
oh yeah,
That movie has a number of very specific rules, and the Naked Gun series also had these rules. One of the rules was there would only ever be a joke in the foreground or a joke in the background. You don't have a joke in both. So if it was a joke in the foreground, everything in the background would be dead serious. If it was dead serious up front, there'd be something strange in the background. In Top Secret, there's a perfect example of this, where a person is having this very tense conversation with effectively a Stasi, so secret police. Understandable why it'd be tense, right? Especially since this person's helping a spy. In the background, they had just walked into this restaurant, and the person that they had walked in to the restaurant with didn't have a suit coat. And they were told that no, in order to be able to come to this dining establishment, you need to have a suit coat. So, have any of you been to a club or dining place or anything like that that requires a suit coat?
Don't think so.
no, there was a restaurant that I went to that the dress code was there, but it wasn't like super, formal.
So a lot of the places that have that sort of requirement will have a back room where they have a bunch of suit coats. And if you come in, your people that you're coming in with, they're properly attired, but you aren't. They'll go, no, you need to have a suit coat, follow us. So that was kind of the assumption when the main character was told, no, you don't have a suit coat, follow us, we'll fix this. You're thinking, oh, he'll be led back into the room where they have the spares. He'll be given one, and then he'll be set. So as this conversation's happening, you see him in the back room. And they start taking all the tailor measurements. And then every time that it cuts so that you see him, there's different outfits being put on him. Like at one point, he's given the mariachi suit coat. At one point, I think he's completely done up as a clown. At another point, he's the fascist dictator military garb with like the 2 feet of medals hanging off his chest. Or they're doing some very strange measurement. There's always a gag every time that it cuts back. And when it cuts back, it is always over the shoulder of the member of the Stasi that you're seeing this shit. So it's dead serious up front, comedy in the background. And there's another point where in the background, the Stasi are, if I remember correctly, executing someone. And in the background, it is fucking just ridiculous comedy scene up front. And you're going, what the hell? And it makes it funnier. So that was one of the rules of those movies. You would always have comedy in back or comedy up in front. You wouldn't have comedy in both, because that would make everything too messy and too distracting.
Exactly.
The other thing they did was every joke was given completely straight, and none of it was given any sort of because there's certain lines that giving it that absolutely kills the line. A perfect example is from Naked Gun 33 and a third, if I remember correctly, which is the classic one that everyone references.
Don't call me Shirley.
Surely you can't be serious. I am, and don't call me Shirley. So this is the plan. And it immediately rolls into something else. There's absolutely no breathing room for don't call me Shirley. Whereas if you have Shirley can't be serious, don't call me Shirley.
Yeah, like the joke in and of itself is not funny. It's the delivery and the reaction that makes it funny.
Yeah, it needs the deadpan delivery. And it needs absolutely no breathing room. It needs to just be completely rolled into something else as if it was the most normal thing in the world to say and not a joke.
Well, that kind of goes in line with the white zone joke in the beginning. How he's just talking about the white zone, and it just sounds like his wife's right there over his shoulder. Mm-hmm. It's like, don't you give me that white zone nonsense.
Yeah, and the jokes that always happened in those movies, at some point, this joke would be in almost every single one of these movies, where you would hear the music building, and it would get louder and louder and more menacing sounding, and then it would kind of pan past the character or zoom out a little bit, and there's just the full band following around the main character.
There's a couple movies that have that joke.
Yeah, like I said, in all of those movies, because Top Secret, the Naked Gun series, Police Squad, which was the television series that was around Naked Gun, and I think Kentucky Fried Movie, they were all done by the same people.
Well, it's like, what the hell was that? Basketball.
Yep.
How he was listening. He got to that part of near the end of the movie when he's just like he's down on his luck. I'm gonna turn on the radio and listen to some motivational music, but the music's pretty much telling him what he should be doing.
Yep.
And I told my mom that Dale Earnhardt was in that movie. No, he wasn't. He's only made good movies. Well, if you say so. Like, I actually had to show her, and I had to show her both parts to get full context. Where it was a roadkill, where they're like like hitting animals on the side of the road. Yeah.
That's like when you say that Val Kilmer's in Top Secret. Most people go, no, that he couldn't have been. Especially when you say Val Kilmer was in Top Secret and it was one of his first movies.
Yeah.
Top Secret was technically, if I remember correctly, his big break movie that got him into all the others after that. No one believes you that that's the case. And then they look it up, and holy shit, Val Kilmer was in Top Secret. I fucking told you.
Well, most people, like, they overlook Top Secret and they go to Real Genius.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't think I've seen either. I've seen clips of Top Secret because someone mentioned the "I know a little German" joke.
Yes.
And so I looked up that whole.
He's over there.
Yeah, because I knew I'd heard the joke before, but I couldn't remember the movie it was from. So I was like, oh, it's from Top Secret. Okay. So I've seen like bits and pieces, but I've never sat down and watched the entire movie, and I've never seen Real Genius at all.
Yeah, Real Genius is fantastic. Again, it's a movie that is highly recommended by me because it has some great gags in it, and it is a well done movie where it blends it has a serious plot as well as comedy, and it does both of them rather well.
I think that what was that song? "This Is America" by Donald Glover, whatever his rap name is.
Yeah.
That was the whole point of that, was that like he's doing like the song and dance up front, but in the back is like serious stuff that is like the point of the song is that people are so distracted by the singing and dancing they don't see what's really going on.
Yep.
So yeah, what's his rap name? I know it's something stupid.
Childish
Gambino. That's it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's old rules like that about comedy movies that I really miss. Also, having spoof movies that were legitimately good on their own. You don't need to know where every reference is from to make them funny. Airplane is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Where Airplane, you can watch that in a vacuum and it's still fucking amazing.
I would say Allo Allo is a perfect example of that because far more people know Allo Allo than the show it was parodying. Like, I don't even know the name of the show that it was parodying because that's how much Allo Allo stands on its own. You don't need the reference material at all to enjoy it.
And just for those who don't know what Allo Allo is, because that is not one of the ones that crossed over as firmly as like Fawlty Towers did. Do you want to explain what Allo Allo is?
Oh, okay. So it's a British sitcom in the Second World War, and the cafe owner Rene is, he's like working with the resistance, but like he's also got to serve the Germans as they come into his cafe, and so he kind of gets manipulated by both sides, and it's just really a farcical comedy with a lot of running gags. Like by the end of it, the whole show was just one running gag into the next, which is amazing that they could do that and still have it seem like funny. It is like it's definitely a good show. If you haven't seen it, that's another one to add to the watch list. Very strongly recommend Allo Allo.
Yep, and again, it's one of those things that didn't try to give their jokes breathing room, for people to laugh. It just rolled from joke to joke a good chunk of the time.
One of the things I really like is that it's never actually acknowledged that, like, what language they're speaking is just what accent they're using. Like, if someone is speaking English in a French accent, that means they're speaking French in the show. But obviously, like, they can't expect the audience to be multilingual. So there's just like, if I'm speaking like a German, then I'm speaking German. If I'm, got a
I
French
like how you said if I'm speaking like a German in a very aggressive French accent.
Well, I'm not an accent person. I can't do accents. But German is aggressive, and that's how you speak German. You just sound aggressive.
There is
but it's not aggressive Marie Chevalier. You aren't so poor you can't even afford a language, all you have this stupid accent. No, German, you have to do very precise and you have to do very sharp, and V's become... You have to just snap everything, not just Marie Chevalier, but sound a bit angry.
Well, like I said, I don't do accents. But the point stands that whatever language they're speaking is represented by them speaking English in that particular accent.
Let's see, there was a... the picture distracted me. Oh, no, there's a member that called in to my work who had a super thick, and I don't know if it was German or Swedish. And I'm not talking like hurdy-gurdy, Swedish. But just the way, because it was very broken English. But it made me think, just because of her last name, that it was a German name. Like, I don't think that was a Swedish name.
The question is, did it sound somewhat sing-songy, or did it sound like they're trying to bludgeon you with a hammer?
Well, it was a mixture of both. Like, she was a really nice lady, but it's almost like if I had said something wrong, she would have gone to, like, Frau Farishina from Austin Powers.
Nice. I would have also accepted sounding like Frau Glucher.
Yeah, that's where my mind went as well. Though we don't have horse's name, so it can't be her.
True.
But yeah, she was a nice lady. And what really kind of made me think it was like Swedish or Danish, I don't know if that's even anywhere near a thing, but she kind of had, it was slow, and it had a very uptick to it sometimes. But it was very, like, not hostile.
There's a very easy test. Was she made out of pastry? If she was definitely Danish.
Well, I couldn't hear. I can't hear through a phone. Well, I can't see through a phone, so I wouldn't be able to
You
tell.
couldn't hear if she sounded flaky? Did she make the meeting on time? Because if she made the meeting on time, then that's more German, because that isn't at all flaky. But, sorry, I'm mixing up ingredients for my dinner tonight because, like I said, I ended up screwing myself by not having the proteins that I was thinking I would be choosing from. So I just quickly grabbed a bit of tinned fish, mixed that up with some Kewpie mayo and sriracha. Have rice that's currently soaking, so I'm going to make onigiri with that. I'm also making another bit of fish that I was using for a chosuke, and I'm mixing that up with different seasoning, so that'll be another filling for onigiri, as well as I have some bonito flakes soaked in a little bit of show you, which will be a third filling. And then I have sausages that I sliced up, so I'll make the... Have you ever seen the Japanese octopus sausages?
No, or if I have, I didn't know that's what they were.
They aren't actually made out of octopus. They're normal hot dogs, but they're just cut in a specific way so that as they cook, they curl up so it looks like it's an octopus head with tentacles coming out of it.
I've got something better than all of that. I've got DoorDash.
I don't know. I rather like my cooking.
Yes, but I don't have to cook anything. That automatically makes it superior.
Yeah, but you also don't have to cook anything that I'm eating.
It's true. But I can't eat your food because you're on the other side of the world.
True. It would get a bit moldy by the time it gets to you.
Yes, it would. But as I said, if I'm ever in the States, I do want to do like a Minions tour and just like visit like my friends and just like go from state to state and sort of like hang out with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I probably never get to do it, but that is like something that I would enjoy if I got the chance.
Well, first you need to leave your house.
No, I've left my house to go to social things before. It's rare, but it's very rare. But I did once go to England for a weekend, so I've done it. I have done it before.
Just very rarely. Okay.
Yeah, and when I told people at work, they thought I meant a week, and I was like, no, a weekend.
I went for 2 days.
Yeah, well, I mean, 4 days if you include the flights, like a day flying there, the weekend, and a day flying back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it was a weekend. And it was because there was an online game I was playing, and they were all meeting up in England because that a whole bunch of them were in England and they wanted to meet up. I was like, sure, I'll go to that. I want to meet you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I did.
Nice. My 2 bits of salmon, or actually, there are 2 bits of salmon. I have a pink salmon, and then I have another sort of salmon, sockeye salmon, are just mixed up, and now just letting the flavors marry together a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
The rice is soaking, as I said. The hot dogs have been cut. The bonito flakes are soaking, so now I can just sit down and relax until it's time to start the rice cooking.
Yeah. On a completely unrelated topic, just because I've been watching the channel, are you guys familiar with the band The Darkness? They did that song, I Believe in a Thing Called Love.
Yeah,
Yes.
The guy dancing with the squid
Furry
arm.
towel monster?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got the lead singer has a YouTube channel called Justin Hawkins Rides Again, and I'm actually really enjoying it. He's
Nice.
basically music analysis of like pop songs,
Mm-hmm.
and I really like. He tries to find the positive in everything, like even if it's a totally shit song, and you can tell he does not like the song, he'll be like, no, but this bit here is actually quite interesting, and then he'll go into detail that it's over my head. I don't understand his descriptions because I'm not musical enough, but just the attitude of like, okay, yeah, look, this song is not for me. I don't think it's a very good song, but what they've done here in this particular bit is actually quite interesting, and he'll actually find reasons that otherwise terrible songs are actually worth analyzing. I quite like it.
Yeah, it's looking on... It's someone who's actually passionate about a topic, talking
Yes.
about that topic. And even when they're going, yeah, this isn't really my cup of tea, but this is amazing.
Yeah. I forget who it was because like a lot of the bands I don't know because they're modern, but like you could tell he thought this was a terrible song. He thought this was shit, but he still found one aspect of it. It's like, okay, look, I don't think they put a lot of effort into this song, but this one section is actually really good. You can like they're overusing this aspect, but despite that, it's still got this quality. And you know, it's as you say, he like passionately loves music, and it's just it's cool watching him talk about it and like get really into it.
Yeah, I'm always really happy whenever I can find a channel where I can tell that the person clearly loves talking about and doing the shit that they're doing. Because those are always the people that, especially if it's something that's educational in its nature, I'm one of those people that if the person that I'm learning from is almost bubbling over with excitement because what they're talking about they think is the coolest fucking thing around, it makes me go, no, tell me more. I keep talking. I want to know about this. Why do you find it so fascinating? Tell me, teach me. And if someone sounds bored, they could be talking about one of the most fascinating things in the world. And if they sound sufficiently, and if they act sufficiently, whatever, about it, then it kills the interest in that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like a lot of the fighting game channels that I watch, like there's a million people who like put fighting game content up, but the ones I like are the ones that you can tell this is like an important part of their life, and you can like see that they love just playing the game and talking about it, and those are the ones that it's actually fun to watch on YouTube. When you can see their eyes light up, and it's like, oh, I can't believe I got that combo off, or like, yeah, I lost, but man, that was a sick game. That was like right down to the wire. I would have rather win, but man, what a cool game. Like when they're like all like, excited, it's like, this is what I want to see. This is like someone who loves what they're doing.
Like there's two channels that I've found recently. One of them is keeping things as clinical as he possibly can, which works for the channel. Because have either of you guys ever heard of Chubby Emu?
No.
So Chubby Emu is a doctor that does videos on weird medical things. So he did, like, for instance, a video on this is what happened after a woman drank a liter of soy sauce, and this is what happened to her brain.
Yeah, don't do that.
Or this is what happened when a man drank a lava lamp, and this is what happened to his liver. And
I'm going to say don't do that either.
Yes, neither of those should you ever do. But he goes into a massive amount of detail. But as he's going into detail, he doesn't dumb down what he's saying, though he explains every term that is outside of common parlance. So when he says hyponatremia, anyone that's in medicine probably knows what hyponatremia means. Do either of you happen to know what hyponatremia means?
No.
Nope.
So whenever he mentions a term like that, he'll break it down into the root section. So hypo, of course, means below average.
Yeah.
So if someone is hypotensive, it means that they have low blood pressure. Natri comes from natrium, which is the Latin for sodium. So hyponatri means low sodium.
Okay.
Eum, whenever you see that tacked onto something like that, will end up meaning presence in blood. So hyponatremia means low sodium presence in blood.
Okay.
And he'll break that down and then continue talking. And he'll talk about the case, all the different things that happens, and then next time that he says a specific part of the body that people might not be familiar with, he'll just kind of pause for a moment, explain what it is, and then carry on. So it's very good medical information. Really well done.
Not medical misinformation like the Minions is.
Yes, not medical misinformation like YouTube seems to claim we are currently. But at the time being, it is really good information. So if you're interested in medical things, I highly recommend Chubby Emu. But you can tell that the guy's excited, even though he's doing a very kind of stoic doctor persona.
Yeah.
He is a doctor, and he's trying to give it the proper gravity. But you can tell that this dude is actually excited by this topic.
Yeah.
So it becomes fascinating. And then the other one, I'm trying to remember the guy's name, because I just found his channel not terribly long ago, and I'm rather ashamed that it took me this long to find the channel. Because he's a numbers nerd, effectively.
Okay.
So he really likes doing physics calculations and math calculations. And Steve Mold is the guy's name.
Okay.
So what he does is he does a bunch of interesting physics videos. And he'll rig up different models in order to use during his shows, or during his videos, expressing what he's trying to explain. So at one point he did a mechanical computer. Everyone, of course, knows what a computer is. A mechanical computer is a computer that it is all just stored energy working through a calculation. And he did a mechanical computer that was a water computer. So it could add up any numbers that he gave it just based on where he put the fluid. Really
and
fucking...
you know that he put the fluid in Jack Murphy's wife.
Thankfully, that was not the case, because it does not seem as if... What was the trap's name? Dave? Was it Dave? Was the
Matt
name?
from Tinder.
Matt. Oh, yes, Matt from Tinder. But he does these really fascinating physics and math videos where he breaks it down. And you can hear, as he's talking about it, that it is almost barely contained excitement as he's going through the topics. And he sets up these cool models that he tries to make them transparent whenever he can. So, for instance, he has videos on the Heron's Fountain, which is a very cool form of fountain/siphon setup, where you have two chambers, and one chamber is almost entirely sealed, except there's a line that goes up into the second chamber. And the second chamber is almost entirely sealed, except there's a tube that is partially fluid-filled that runs to the top of the fountain. And then there's a cliff on the top of the fountain that leads down into the bottom of the first chamber. And you fill up the... Okay.
Just quickly, Johnny, you should do a poll just to see if the Russian bots try and hack it.
Nice. All right.
But what you do is you add some fluid to each of these different chambers, and then if you add fluid onto the top, it ends up pumping the fluid out of the second chamber up onto the top as the bottom chamber fills.
Okay.
Just due to the fact that as the bottom chamber fills from pouring fluid on the top, that air has to go somewhere. So that air gets pushed up into the top chamber and starts pushing the fluid out of the top chamber, even though it means that it then has to push the fluid up. It's able to actually push the fluid up and then pour that fluid out, and it cycles round in a very cool manner.
Well, we got one bot.
There you go. Oh, well, the votes are piling in. We've got 3 already.
So it's, again, one of those channels where the person is clearly excited about what they're talking about. And that makes it fascinating.
But yeah, I do like when there's that level of passion behind what they're doing. It's like it's why a lot of the big name channels don't work for me. Like the ones that are like got a corporation backing them and aren't just like some dude in his bedroom. They're soulless. The guy doesn't give 2 shits about what he's talking about. He's just there for the paycheck, and it comes across.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's a bunch of channels where you can tell that the person obviously gives a shit. One of the best, just because there's no way in hell someone who didn't care would put himself through all that shit, is Electro Boom. Do you guys know Electro Boom?
Electro what?
Electro Boom.
No.
Nope.
Okay. Electro Boom is a physics channel, specifically a physics channel that focuses on electricity and its uses. Have you seen the video of the potentially Indian or like subcontinent South Asian bloke who is constantly electrocuting himself?
Yeah, I've seen that guy.
That's
I
Electro
think
Boom.
so.
That is the guy who I'm talking about. That guy is Electro Boom. So in every video, he electrocutes himself and
My
ends up
stepson showed me some of his videos.
ends up almost setting himself on fire at several points.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I wonder what happens if you do this. You connect this to this. It's, oh god! Like, it's like, yeah.
You'd think he'd learn.
Well, the thing is that he knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows the amount of current that he's going to get, but he's doing it to make the videos more amusing, more shareable. Because he's really passionate about the topic and wants people to know about how electricity works. There's no way in hell that if he was not so passionate about electricity and how fucking cool it is, that he would be going, okay, so I'm going to do a video on this topic. And to make sure that people pass this video around so that more people are getting into this topic and seeing how cool this shit is, I'm going to electrocute myself. You won't get that from a corporate channel.
No, you really won't.
Because first off, the corporate channels would be going, no, we don't want the lawsuits.
Yeah, very much so.
And second off, no one's going to be willing to just, yeah, sure, electrocute my asshole. Because at one point, he's making a heated seat.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Oh, jeez.
And one of the times that he gets electrocuted was a bit by accident rather than him doing it for a laugh. And he got electrocuted through the ass.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
I didn't, like, when he adjusted it, didn't he actually burn his ass, too?
Yes. Because
Well,
he...
I just heard an ambulance in the background, so maybe they're going to take care of this guy's asshole.
Yep. Yeah, Electro Boom, again, it's one of those channels where the guy is clearly excited about what he's talking about. And you can find these channels all over the place. Some of them are really well-known names, like everyone here, of course, knows who Adam Savage is, right?
Yes.
Yes, the what's his face guy?
Mythbusters.
That's it. I knew it was myth something, and I couldn't couldn't remember the last word.
He has a channel, and when you watch his channel, some of his opinions, yeah, they're kind of shit opinions. But his channel is fucking quality because, again, it's someone who obviously is excited about what he's talking about and doing the shit that he's doing.
Right. I think that's one of the things that made Mythbusters what it was, is the fact that, granted, he was the foil to Jamie's,
Heinemann's reserved, stoic nature.
Yeah. And you could see the actual excitement from them doing this research.
Yep. And you could see the excitement in both of them. Adams was always more obvious just because he's the more enthusiastic and hyper of the two.
Yes.
But you would still get that excitement from Jamie Heinemann, because Jamie, you would get that moment of him just looking at something really intensely and smiling and kind of laughing to himself as it starts to work, because this is fucking cool.
Yeah.
Even from his yes, this is what we're going to do, he would still get those, oh god, it worked. That's cool.
I only remember one episode of Mythbusters, and it was, can you polish a turd? And they actually tried to make a ball of shit shine.
Yep.
I must have missed that one.
It's things like that make learning fun, which is why I get so pissed off when it comes to education and how we do it.
Through Zoom calls?
The way that we do education is effectively completely strip it of all entertainment. When you're learning in school, they try to make it the least fun environment, or the vast majority of people. Not all teachers. Yeah. There are some amazing teachers that are able to get excitement into the classroom and get people to actually have fun doing shit. I had one that was absolutely insane in the best possible way. It was my forensic teacher. She made Barbie doll crime scenes and had us start processing Barbie doll crime scenes. So she has dismembered Barbies just scattered around a crime scene. And you can't help but find that funny as you're working it. And find it interesting.
I think you have to remember that you're teaching kids. Like, they're not going to sit there and attentively listen to you drone on. You do need to make it engaging for them. You need to give them something to make it fun, or they're just not going to pay attention to you.
Yeah, and another really good example. This one was from college. Have either of you heard of phylogenetic trees or cladograms?
I've heard it. I don't know what it means, but I've definitely heard that term.
So, you've heard of the tree of life, right?
Yeah.
Where it's all the different species spread out. The tree of life is the phylogenetic tree.
Okay.
Which is just a massive cladogram. Cladograms can be fairly small, so you can pick like 5 different animals and stick them on a cladogram and you show how they're related. Or it can be the entire tree of life. It's the field of cladistics. But in order to teach cladistics, this one professor that I had in college, the first day when he's covering the topic, he first had us listen to the short lecture about what cladistics was, how it worked, and then he handed us a thing and had us split into groups to work through the cladograms that he gave us. After we finished that, he told everyone to get up, and he grabbed a bunch of different things, some flags, some rope, and passed it to several other people as he grabbed more shit, and then took us all out to the football field at the school. And he went, okay, so you guys worked through the assignment, so what was, and he mentioned one of the species that we had to deal with. So we said that, and he went, okay, so if we treat this as the common origin point between this species and all the other species, this branching point happened at this number of hundreds of thousands of years ago. So let's put that species on this line, and we'll have the point where they split be right here. And now, how long do you think it'll be if we walk out the distance, given that this is a distance of 2 feet between this break point and that species? How far do you think it would be before we get to the next split if we walked it out? And we tossed out our ideas, and it turns out that it's about 10 yards. So walk out 10 yards and split the line again, put down one of those flags, draw one of the flags out this distance to this species, which you guys all acknowledged was the next one to split off. And then how long, and he just started working through it using this massive visual representation of the entire goddamn football field. And at the end, we had one species that was left. And he went, okay, so how far do you guys think you would have to walk from this inflection point to the next inflection point? And a bunch of people tossed out ideas. And it turned out we would have to walk to one of the cities that was a fair distance away.
Oh, okay.
In order to set the flag. And then he asked to another species. And in order to get to that one, where I went to school was in kind of middle of Virginia. In order to get to that one, we would have had to walk to Washington, D.C.
So just around the corner.
And he just kept on tossing out different distances that we'd have to walk to get to different points within the overall phylogenetic tree based off of our measurements that we took for this cladogram. Which locked that into people's minds a hell of a lot better than the lecture or the short assignment that we ever did.
Oh, definitely.
Because it made it interesting, and it gave us some frame of reference other than just a couple lines that we jotted on a piece of paper.
It's interesting because there's you know, the TED talks that TEDx talks that Scribe talks about.
Yep.
They've got a like a sister channel, TED Ed, which is like the educational channel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, obviously that's like fairly corporate, but like they realize that if you can put a story around a maths problem, people will be excited to solve it.
Yep.
And so like they'll be like, there's a wizard competition with, you know, Barry Motter, and like and then like they'll set up the scenario, and it's like, now what should Barry Motter do in this situation? And then like obviously the solution is to solve the maths problem that they've written into a story. And then like you get people in the comments like excited that they can get the answers. Like,
yep.
If you just wrote down the maths, people will be like, oh, fuck this, I don't even want to solve that. But they made it interesting.
Yeah. You need to connect things that you're learning to interesting examples. And you need to make the actual learning of what you're doing fascinating. Part of that is you have to have an instructor that in and of themselves is fascinating.
Yeah.
That one instructor that I told you about with the cladogram, he had the hardest time that one could possibly imagine doing this, because I don't know what the deal with the guy was fantastic, and it was obvious that he was passionate about what he was teaching, but his voice was stuck in a perfect monotone.
Now, I do have one important question. Did he devour it, or did it devour him?
He devoured it. He was fascinated about the subject. So he devoured it. He didn't let it consume him. But the man was stuck in a perfect monotone. It does not matter what he was doing. He could be damn near cheerleading with how excited he was in front of the lecture hall. His voice would come out as almost a Ben Stein impression. So he would be talking about how amazing the phylogenetic tree was and how this was the way that this was discovered. Isn't that really goddamn cool? It's amazing that this person was able to discover it this way. And he could be doing these really cool representations that let people actually glom onto the knowledge. But the entire time, just continues to talk with the voice. Absolutely no modulation past this. And it was confusing.
I think it would be very frustrating if you could only speak in a monotone.
Yeah.
Like just thinking about my own, like if I could only speak in a monotone, that would drive me crazy.
Yeah. And imagine being that passionate about a subject as that professor was and being fascinated by it, but never being able to express it with your intonation.
Yeah.
I don't know what caused that or how it happened, but yeah, that professor, fascinating lessons because of everything that he came up with in order to get around the fact that he just spoke like this constantly and could never speak like anything other than this.
I'm just thinking back on it. One of my favorite games, well, I shouldn't say one of my favorites, but one of the games I have very fond memories of from when I was a kid was actually an educational game.
Which one?
It was like meant to teach you reading comprehension, but and sort of like logical deduction a little bit. And it's basically you take photos of robots, and then each photo you take will reveal one element of the robot, and then you've also got these comprehension tests where like you'll read the passage and they'll ask you a question like, what color was the girl's hat? And you go red. So red will be a keyword. So in the photos, you need to find something red on one of the robots. And then like the next one will be basket. So, okay, there's got to be something red. There's got to be a basket. And so like it was teaching you reading comprehension and basic logical deduction. But to like 10-year-old me, it's like, I'm just, taking photos of robots and like finding the evil villain who's in disguise and all this kind of...
What was it? Mystery Mayhem games?
Yeah, it was Midnight Rescue is the name.
Yes. Where at the end it would have the statue and it would fill up with based on how many. Yes, those games were amazing.
I only ever played the one. If there's more, and I'm pretty sure there was a series of them.
There is.
I never got a chance to play any of the others, but that one in particular, no, I loved it as a kid.
Yeah, there's a bunch of the Mystery Mayhem. I think it's Mystery Mayhem. Let me quickly double check. Make sure that I'm thinking the...
I did find a way to play Midnight Rescue like for free on my laptop. And so like this was like a year ago, thereabouts. So I actually played it all the way from start to finish. And it's like, I never even knew you could finish the game. Like as a kid, I obviously wasn't good enough to get to the end. But like, oh wow, like you're willing to sit there and grind it for, a few hours. There is an ending.
Yep. It's the... Sorry, I got the name wrong. It is the Super Solvers series.
There you go. That sounds right.
Yeah, the Super Solver series, which is fantastic. That is a great classic educational game series. Back when the Learning Company was fucking amazing.
Yeah. No, I was so excited because like I had the memory of the game, but I had no idea what it was called. So I actually typed into Google game where you take photos of robots, and it knew what I meant.
Yep.
I was so impressed with Google. I was like, holy shit, how did that work?
I'm in your mind, Terry.
What's that?
I've played...
I'm in your mind, Terry. I know what you mean.
Yes.
I played a number of the Super Solvers games. I didn't get to play them all, which now makes me want to see if I can find the ones that I haven't played and go back and give them a go, even though they'll be ridiculously simple for me now.
Oh, of course. I mean, when I was playing Midnight Rescue, it was trivially easy. I mean,
Yep.
as a 40-year-old man, I think I've got the mental capabilities to pass an elementary school educational game.
Yeah.
But it was still just fun, like, for the sake of it.
The ones that I've played from that series are Midnight Rescue, just like you, Gizmos and Gadgets, which was more the very basic physics one.
Okay.
Mission Think I also played, as well as they had the Treasure series, which I played Treasure Mountain. I think I played Math Storm, and I think I played Treasure Cove.
Cool. If you find a way to, like, a site that lets you play them, can you send me the link? Because
Absolutely.
I'd be interested in checking out the rest of the series.
Yeah, it's just like I was real. Did you ever play any of the Dr. Brain games?
Doesn't sound familiar.
So there was a series of games which were the Dr. Brain games, and they were fantastic. Some of those are still a son of a bitch to beat, even now. Because these weren't just designed for children. These were designed for anyone that picked up the games to play them. So they had very simple games in them. They had rather difficult games. They had number-based games. They had word-based games. They had constellation-based games. Just a whole bunch of different fields were covered in the games.
Made by Sierra, so I mean, I remember the old what's these, like King's Quest and such, the parser games where you actually they weren't even point and click. You had to type what you wanted to do.
Yep. Yeah, the first Dr. Brain game is one that, like I said, you can play that now, and depending on the difficulty that you set it on, you will either breeze through it fairly easy, or you will still be going, son of a bitch, okay, I need to do this. Fuck, I got it wrong. Okay, let me try. Fuck! And that's the Castle of Dr. Brain.
Okay.
And then
try and find it.
A bunch of other games in the series. So there's Castle of Dr. Brain, then I think it goes to Island of Dr. Brain, and just really solid games that cover a shit ton of different topics as you go through. They're all science related. So one of the things for the Castle of Dr. Brain is working through guiding robots through a maze.
Okay.
And at the very easiest level, it is ridiculously simple.
Of course.
At the hardest levels, you might have to actually think through, okay, so I set it to do this, and then this, and then this, because you have to work out all the actions before you click go.
Yeah. There's board games like that where you have to program all the moves in advance, and then you just see if you got it right by enacting them.
Yep. So it's really good, solid game series. Just like the Comments on the Alga games were, of course, amazing. And those are, again, a game that most people could probably play now and still have a bit of a time going through them, rather than just, oh yeah, I'm an adult, this is simple. Because you're still having to go, okay, when was this done? Which area is known for this specific product?
I just need to step away for a bit. I'll be back in a sec.
Well, actually, I'm starting to not feel so hot, so I was going to shut the stream down.
That works as well.
But we'll go to parting thoughts. Terry?
Let's see. The second season of Being a Dick was released on Steam, so check that out. It is an adult game, so if you're scared of boobs, then don't play it. But it is a fun series. But boobs or no boobs.
And Sanguine?
If any of you guys remember any really good old school learning games that you had fun with, let us know, because I still enjoy looking at some of those old games, and some of them are still kind of fun to play through, at least to reminisce about. So give us your favorite old school learning games. Some of them are going to be completely aged out, like the Jump Start series. Those were good games, but yeah, Jump Start fourth grade is not really going to be a mental taxer for anyone. At least hopefully it's not going to be a mental taxer for anyone. There's one that I will have to say is an exception. The Jumpstart 5th grade game that I got, for some reason, thought that you would need to know classical paintings in 5th grade, down to who painted them, what sort of style they were painted in, and what year they were painted in.
Wow.
That section was a son of a bitch, but otherwise, yeah, most of the game won't trouble anyone. That painting section probably still give most people a run for their money. But other than that, I'll leave off with my standard. If you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you.
Right. And I remember when I was in high school, we took one of our weekends. We're like, you know what? We're gonna see about renting back in the renting your game days. We're gonna rent a game for my friend's like, we're gonna rent a game for my little brother. So we got it was a Mario game that taught math. And when you wake Mario up, he actually scratches his balls.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, we thought it was weird how we're just like, what the hell's he doing? Because it's just a subtle arm movement. And we're like, he is scratching his balls. But I will go with a new one. Customers are the worst part of customer service.
True.
And I will die on that hill. But with that, the zoo is closed. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Good night, all.